The silent morning. Captain Elena Rodriguez was enjoying her morning coffee when the universe changed forever. She stood in the observation deck of Mars Research Station Alpha, watching the red planet's sunrise paint the sky in familiar orange hues. The coffee was synthetic, the gravity was artificial, and home was 50 million kilometers away. But moments like these made the isolation bearable. The communication panel beside her began flashing urgent red lights. Elena set down her cup and activated the incoming transmission, expecting another routine supply request from one of the outer colonies. Instead, she found herself looking at the tear-streaked face of Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison from New Genesis Colony. Captain Rodriguez. Jake's voice cracked with emotion. New Genesis is gone. They're all gone. Elena felt the blood drain from her face. New Genesis was home to 80,000 people, including families, children, researchers, and farmers, who had been building humanity's first truly self-sufficient colony world. What do you mean gone, Commander? Orbital bombardment, ma'am. The entire surface has been sterilized. We managed to evacuate maybe 200 people to the emergency shelters before. Jake's image flickered as his transmission weakened. Captain. They left a message. The attackers left a message for Earth. The screen changed to show a massive alien vessel, sleek and predatory, hanging in space above the smoldering remains of New Genesis. Elena had never seen anything like it. The ship was easily 10 times larger than humanity's biggest vessels, covered in angular armor plating that seemed to absorb light itself. A voice began speaking, deep and resonant, translated by the colony's computer systems. Primitive inhabitants of the system you call Sol. I am High Commander Thax of the Valthari Empire. Your colony world has been eliminated as a demonstration of our power and resolve. Elena gripped the edge of her console as the alien continued. The Valthari Empire has ruled this galaxy for 3,000 of your years. We have decided that your species may serve a useful purpose as laborers and resource gatherers. You will surrender all military vessels, dismantle your orbital defenses, and prepare your worlds for occupation. The alien's image showed features that were almost humanoid, but wrong in subtle ways. Its skin was pale blue-gray. Its eyes were too large and completely black, and when it spoke, Elena could see rows of sharp teeth designed for tearing flesh. You have 10 of your solar days to comply with these terms. If you resist, Earth will share the fate of your colony world. We expect your leaders to contact us with terms of surrender within this time frame. Any attempt at military resistance will result in the complete extermination of your species. The transmission ended, leaving Elena staring at static. She stood motionless for several seconds, her mind struggling to process what she had just witnessed. 80,000 people. Men, women, children who had been alive and dreaming of the future just hours ago. Now they were nothing but ash and memory. Her training kicked in. Elena activated her emergency communication array and sent an immediate priority transmission to Earth Defense Command. Within minutes, she was connected to Admiral Patricia Wells, the head of Earth's military forces. Elena, Admiral Wells said, her weathered face showing the strain of someone who had already received the terrible news. I assume you've seen the transmission from New Genesis. Yes, ma'am. Admiral, what are our options? This alien fleet, the technology they're displaying, it's far beyond anything we've encountered before. Admiral Wells was quiet for a moment, and Elena could see something strange in her expression. It wasn't fear or despair, but something else entirely. Something that looked almost like anticipation. Captain Rodriguez, I need you to return to Earth immediately. Bring your entire research team and all your data. We have preparations to make. Preparations, man. Elena, what I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest levels. The public cannot know. Not yet. These Valthari believe they're dealing with a primitive species that will collapse at the first show of force. They expect us to surrender because that's what every other species has done for the past 3,000 years. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. And will we surrender? Admiral Wells smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. Captain, the Valthari Empire has made two critical errors in their intelligence gathering. First, they assume that our small exploration fleets and research stations represent our actual military capabilities. Second, they think that destroying one colony will break our spirit and make us compliant. What do you mean, Admiral? What I mean, Captain, is that these aliens have been watching us for months, maybe years, and they have no idea what they're actually dealing with. They've seen our civilian vessels, our research stations, our peaceful exploration missions. They think that's all we have. Elena felt her heart beginning to race. Ma'am, are you saying we have hidden military assets? I'm saying, Captain Rodriguez, that these aliens just made the biggest mistake in their empire's 3,000-year history. They attacked our children and expected us to weep quietly in submission. Instead, they're about to learn that humans have been preparing for this day since we first looked up at the stars and wondered if we were alone. The Admiral leaned forward, her eyes blazing with something fierce and determined. Captain, get your team to Earth as quickly as possible. You're about to see things that will change your understanding of what humanity has been building out here in the dark. And Elena? Yes, ma'am. When you get to Earth, look up at the sky. Really look at it? Because in the next few days, that sky is going to turn human, and the Valthari are going to learn why you never threaten a species that turns their children into soldiers and their minors into warriors. The transmission ended, leaving Elena alone with her thoughts and her synthetic coffee, now cold and forgotten. Outside her window, Mars continued its ancient rotation, but something fundamental had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and their new neighbors had just declared war on a species they didn't understand. Elena began preparations for her return to Earth, but her mind was racing with questions. What had Admiral Wells meant about hidden capabilities? What preparations had humanity been making? And most importantly, what would these Valthari aliens discover when humans stop pretending to be a peaceful, exploration-focused species? As her ship's engines powered up for the journey home, Elena looked one last time at the red planet that had been her home for 2 years. Soon she would see Earth again, and according to Admiral Wells, she would see it as she had never seen it. Before, the thought both terrified and exhilarated her. The Valthari Empire expected tears and surrender. Instead, they were about to meet the real human race, and Elena suspected that encounter would end very differently than the aliens anticipated. The morning had started with coffee and sunrise. It was ending with the promise of war and the revelation that humanity had been hiding something in the darkness between the stars. The universe had changed forever. But maybe, just maybe, it had changed in humanity's favor.
When shadows strike Bacter, James Chen had been expecting this call for 15 years. He sat in his laboratory 3 kilometers beneath the Rocky Mountains, surrounded by technology that officially didn't exist, watching as his secure communication terminal displayed the highest priority alert Earth's defense network could generate. The message was simple. Protocol 7 is now active. Report to Central Command immediately. James stood up from his desk, leaving behind the quantum field generator he had been calibrating, and walked through corridors that most people would never know existed. The Deep Defense Research Facility had been humanity's best-kept secret since 2157, and James had been its director for the past decade. Today, all those years of preparation would finally be put to the test. When he arrived at Central Command, Admiral Patricia Wells was already there, along with a dozen other individuals, whose existence was classified beyond top secret. James recognized most of them. Dr. Sarah Kim from the Stealth Division, General Robert Hayes from the Deep Space Monitoring Corps, and Commander Lisa Park from the Quantum Weapons Program. Ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Wells began, her voice carrying the weight of history. As of 1400 hours today, humanity is officially at war. The Valthari Empire has destroyed New Genesis Colony and demanded our surrender. They have given us 10 days to comply with their terms. James felt a familiar mixture of dread and anticipation. This was the moment they had all been preparing for, but it meant that 80,000 innocent people had died to bring it about. Dr. Chen, Admiral Wells continued, turning to face him directly. I need a status report on the Shadow Network. Are we ready to implement the Phantom Protocol? James activated his tablet and pulled up data that represented 20 years of humanity's most secret work, Admiral. The Shadow Network is fully operational. We have 847 monitoring stations positioned throughout a 50 light-year radius around Earth, all disguised as natural asteroids or space debris. The Veil 3 have been under observation for the past 18 months, but they have no idea we've been watching them. General Hayes leaned forward. What do we know about their current fleet composition? Their main invasion force consists of 23 capital ships, each approximately 3 kilometers in length, supported by 67 smaller vessels that appear to be destroyers or cruisers. Total crew complement is estimated at 400,000 individuals. Commander, Park whistled softly. That's a significant force. What about their technology level? James pulled up another set of data. This is where it gets interesting. The Veil 3 Empire has been technologically stagnant for approximately 800 years. Their ships are powerful, but they're using the same basic designs and systems that they've used for centuries. They've never had to innovate because they've never faced serious resistance. Dr. Sarah Kim spoke up from her position at the Stealth Systems console. James, show them the comparison analysis. James activated the main display screen, showing a side-by-side comparison of Veil 3 technology versus humanity's actual capabilities. The room fell silent as the implications became clear. Ladies and gentlemen, James said, the Veil 3 Empire's technology is approximately equivalent to what humanity was using 50 years ago. Their weapons are plasma-based, their shields are static energy barriers, and their propulsion systems are basic fusion drives. They have never encountered adaptive technology, quantum stealth systems, or self-modifying weapons platforms. Admiral Wells smiled grimly. Show them Phase 1 of the response plan. The display changed to show a tactical map of the solar system. Red indicators marked the positions of Veil 3 ships, while blue indicators showed what appeared to be a much smaller human fleet. The Veil 3 are expecting to face our visible military assets, James explained. Earth Defense Fleet consists of 34 ships, most of which are indeed exploration and research vessels that have been lightly armed. From their perspective, this should be a simple occupation with minimal resistance. But that's not the real plan, General Hayes added with a grin. James activated another layer of the display. Suddenly, the tactical map was filled with hundreds of additional contacts, all marked in green. The Phantom Protocol involves activating every piece of equipment we've been hiding in plain sight for the past 2 decades. Mining ships that are actually weapons platforms, research stations that are actually military bases, communication satellites that are actually weapons networks. Dr. Kim took over the presentation. Every civilian vessel in this system has been equipped with military-grade stealth technology. The Veil 3 think they're facing 34 ships. In reality, they're facing over 2,000 vessels, most of which they cannot detect until it's too late. Commander Park activated her own section of the display. Additionally, every piece of civilian infrastructure has been designed with dual purposes. Our mining platforms in the asteroid belt, they're mobile weapons platforms that can move anywhere in the system within hours. Our orbital research stations, they're actually command and control centers for distributed weapons networks. James felt a surge of pride as he watched his colleagues reveal the true scope of humanity's preparations. The Veil 3 made their biggest mistake when they assumed that our peaceful exploration activities represented our actual capabilities. What they've been observing is essentially humanity's public face. Our actual military has been hidden where they never thought to look. Admiral Wells stepped forward. Dr. Chen, initiate Phase 1 of the Phantom Protocol. I want every Shadow Network station to begin active monitoring the moment the Veil 3 fleet enters the outer solar system. I want to know their exact positions, their shield frequencies, and their communication protocols. Already underway, Admiral. Our stealth probes are moving into position around their fleet as we speak. They'll never know they're being monitored. Over the next 48 hours, James watched as humanity's hidden network came alive. Mining ships throughout the system received new orders and began moving to positions that the Veil 3 would never expect. Research stations activated weapons systems that had been disguised as scientific equipment. Communication satellites began coordinating targeting data for weapons platforms that existed only in the spaces between official records. The most impressive part of the operation was how normal everything appeared on the surface. To any outside observer, including Veil 3 reconnaissance, Humanity appeared to be going about its normal activities. Ships moved on their regular schedules. Stations continued their research activities, and Earth's population seemed to be living in blissful ignorance of the approaching threat. But beneath the surface, a transformation was taking place. Dr. Sarah Kim's stealth technology was being deployed on a scale never before attempted. Hundreds of civilian vessels were disappearing from sensors, becoming invisible ghosts that could strike from any direction. Mining platforms were being equipped with weapons that could punch through the strongest known armor. Research stations were becoming nodes in a communications network that could coordinate attacks across multiple star systems simultaneously. James received regular updates from the Shadow Network. Stations positioned around the Veil 3 fleet. The aliens were proceeding toward Earth exactly as predicted, maintaining the same formation, using the same communication protocols, and showing no signs that they suspected anything unusual was waiting for them. Dr. Chen, Admiral Wells called from her command station. What's the status of the civilian evacuation protocols? All essential personnel have been moved to the underground facilities or off-world. The civilian population believes this is a standard emergency drill. They have no idea that we're about to engage in the largest military operation in human history. Commander Park looked up from her weapons console. James, the quantum disruption fields are ready for deployment. The moment the Veil 3 tried to use their shields or weapons, we can destabilize their entire fleet's power systems. General Hayes was monitoring long-range sensors. Veil 3 fleet has crossed the orbit of Neptune. They'll reach Mars in approximately 72 hours. Should we begin Phase 2? Admiral Wells considered for a moment. Not yet. Let them get closer. I want them to commit fully to their attack plan before we show them what they're really facing. James felt a mixture of excitement and dread as he watched the enemy fleet approach. For 20 years, humanity had been preparing for this moment, building weapons and defenses that pushed the boundaries of known science. They had hidden their true capabilities so well that even most humans didn't know what their species was actually capable of. The Veil 3 Empire was about to receive the shock of their 3,000-year existence. They expected to find a primitive species that would surrender at the first show of force. Instead, they were flying directly into a trap that had been 15 years in the making, designed by a species that had learned to hide their true nature behind a mask of peaceful exploration. James looked at the tactical display one more time, watching as red indicators representing the enemy fleet moved steadily toward the blue dot that represented Earth. Soon, those red indicators would be surrounded by hundreds of green contacts that they couldn't see, couldn't predict, and couldn't understand. The shadows were about to strike back, and the Veil 3 had no idea what was coming for them.